What's going on, guys? CWG here. Welcome to episode 14 of Nomifactory. Look at the size of this factory. It's going into the fog now. It's so big. So, in the previous episode, we set up this donut fusion reactor. I mean, look at it go. It's making us europium. Europium is being used for all kinds of stuffs and things, especially as we get later into the game. But as some of y'all may have noticed, I added another fusion reactor right on top of it. These guys can wall share, so they're sharing this layer right here to save on some resources, because these fusion machine casings are expensive. So, what is this guy fusing? We are fusing deuterium and tritium to make helium. And this is actually the combo that a lot of fusion reactors across the world are trying to do to make fusion power a reality. You gotta remember, this is futuristic tech here. And with the two fused together, their atomic nuclei combine to make helium. But not just any helium. Helium plasma that we could use to get power from using plasma turbines that look like this. And what if I told you that I've already set that up? Check it out behind me. I've made a stack of 4 large plasma turbines stacked on each other vertically. You can see inside of here, there's a lot of numbers and stats. But out of all these numbers, there's only a few important ones. For instance, it makes 91,750 EU per tick. All you have to do is input the helium plasma into the back, which we're using fluid interfaces. Each of the turbine has its own interface to get the helium. And then it burns the plasma into energy. All 4 of these combined makes something like 13 or 14 million RF per tick. That's right, this stack of plasma turbines here generates more power than all of these reactors combined. Now, there is one catch with these turbines. As you can see on the side, there is, rotors inside of them. And there are many different types of rotors you can use, each with their own stats. Let me show you. Like, for instance, you can use a aluminum rotor, but it's not that good. It only has a power efficiency of 100%. And look at how many different available rotors there are to choose from. And I ended up going with the HSSE turbine rotor that has 280% power efficiency and a little bit of a turbine efficiency as well. And these guys aren't even hard to make. It's just a little bit of magnesium and HSSE turbine blades, which can be made in a forming press. And that is how we are making our 91,000 EU per tick, which is nuts. But something to note is each of these rotors have durability. And you can see this durability is at 29%. I set these up last night. And once these rotors break, we're gonna have to go in here and replace them. Ow. But you can't replace them while it's running, because you gotta remember, this rotor is spinning at 8,000 RPM. If I try to right click it, it literally hurts me. Let me in! So I believe the only way to replace the rotor is to turn this thing off, wait for the shaft to spin down, and then we can access that rotor holder. It's quite the process, I know. If any of the Gregtexperts in the comments know a way to do this automatically, let me know in the comments. Also, I wish these things span, right? Why you no spin? I think there's a texture pack you can get that makes these guys spin. If you guys have a link to the texture pack, make sure you post it in my Discord, because I'd like to use it. You could join the Discord, link in the description. Oh wait, meme of the day? You guys want a meme of the day, huh? Well, here's a meme that one of you guys submitted. Europe, but it's only drawn from memory. Ha, ha, get it? Memory? RAM? In fact, we have RAM. Let's look at our system. We have 256 RAM J chillin'. Now, all the power from our fission reactors and plasma turbines are being combined in this ludicrous voltage battery buffer in which we have 16 LUV orbs that are charging up very nicely. So we are now making tons of energy, and honestly, we're almost to the limit that these enderium conduits can provide. And they can provide 2 million FE per tick. And why did we need this much power? Because we need the Naquadah line, yes. There is a late game Naquadah processing line that gives us many useful byproducts. And of course I made a spreadsheet for it. I present to you guys the Naquadah processing line. Now if we look at the system here, we have tons of Naquadah. We've been getting the Naquadah ore from our tier 5 microminer missions. But if we check in JAI here, the Naquadah could be used for more than just making Naquadah ingots. You could mix it with fluoroantimonic acid inside of a large chemical reactor, which apparently, some lore, fluoroantimonic acid is the most powerful acid on Earth. Who would have thought? And this is made by combining antimony trifluoride with some fluoric acid, blah, 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 blah. I've already set all that up. Don't worry. And then you get some titanium, which is nice, and some enriched and impure Naquadah, which could be centrifuged. You get more Naquadah and other stuff, and then this and that, and then mixed with this. You guys don't have to worry about all that. Because over here, if you look behind me, next to our quad EBF, I've already set it up. I present to you the Naquadah line, which is a minor spaghetti. And you guys remember how the first step of this line is using a large chemical reactor? That's what this guy is right here. And I set this guy to run whenever we have more than 1,000 Naquadah dust using this level emitter right here. That's because Naquadah dust is also used for other things like uranium, rhodium dye, whatever the heck that is. So we don't want to use all of our Naquadah, just if we have some excess. And then it goes through this massive processing chain in which it gets like centrifuged, mixed with acid, then it gets centrifuged again. It gets sent to these distilleries over here. But just know that Naquadah comes in and the byproducts that we get are indium, which is huge, phosphorus, which is huge, gallium, and barium. And indium and phosphorus are like the two things we've been struggling on the most. So the fact that we get those as byproducts, which you could see up in here, is amazing. We also get titanium as a byproduct, which is cool. I mean, we already have over 8,000. We also get enriched Naquadah. We got over 2,000 of that. And Naquadria. This stuff can only be made with a ZPM EBF. Yeah, this thing consumes 122,000 EU per tick, powered by 2 LUV hatches on the back here. Yeah, this is why I set up all those plasma turbines, because these eat tons of power. We got this one running at LUV and this one at ZPM. Both of these distilleries are also running at LUV. We're just going ham sandwich. And yes, I do know that it's a little bit confusing that there's enriched Naquadah, Naquadria, as well as normal Naquadah and Naquadah alloy. Yes, there's 4 different like Naquadah ingots to keep track of, and I think there might be even more. And this stuff is going to be used to make all the like end game machine hulls and stuff. We'll get to that eventually. Now, something cool you can do with enriched Naquadah and Naquadria is you can turn it into bolts. 1 ingot makes 8 bolts, right? Then you could use the bolt in a Naquadah reactor. This thing looks cool. It only costs 1 Naquadria bolt, and you get 1.5 billion EU out of it. 393,000 per tick? Are you kidding me? The multi-block also looks like this, which is pretty cool. It just eats Naquadah bolts, apparently. This is definitely going to be our end game source of power. In fact, there's even a second tier of it, which makes over 1 million EU per tick. I know we're getting a bit ahead of ourselves, but these Naquadah reactors are going to be dope. It only requires a block of omnium, which, yeah, we're not even going to, like, worry about that yet. We need to finish the late game before we can get into the end game stuff, you know? Now, the reason I set up this entire Naquadah line is that way it'll just run in the background. I don't have to worry about it. Plus, the byproducts it gives, especially indium and phosphorus, are super useful, and we're using that stuff now. We're not going to be using this stuff until a bit later. Now, if you remember last episode, we're trying to make these crystal chips. That's like the whole reason we made europium. You guys remember? Now, the only issue with these recipes for these chips is it's 600 seconds at HV, which means even at IV, it's still going to be 150 seconds. So take a look at what I set up off camera. Let's come into the clean room. This is called the processing array. There is a quest to make this guy in the quest book right up here. So we've been able to make this guy for like a little bit. It's just IV components, a data orb, and Cenarium. Cenarium's the most pain in the butt one because it costs 100 seconds at IV to make. But I set that up last night and I think we have like tons of Cenarium, right? Yeah, we got like 850 of it. So we made the processing array, and what this guy will do is it could run up to 16 machines in parallel. Yeah, you heard that right. Inside of this machine access interface is 16 IV autoclaves. And as long as you provide this multi-block enough power, it can run 16 recipes at once. Now you may be like, well, how do you give it enough power? Well, you gotta do math. Each one consumes 1 amp of IV, 4 amps of IV equals 1 amp of LUV. So 16 amps of IV is 4 amps of LUV. And each of these LUV energy hatches can accept up to 2 amps, so we're accepting 4 amps LUV, therefore 16 amps IV. You guys paying attention? There will be a test later. I know Gregtech's a lot of math, but you know, it's fun and it's realistic. So we have raw crystal chip parts being supplied at the bottom as well as europium. I haven't actually tested this guy out. I say let's turn it on. Here we go. All right. It is running. Now, it will still take 150 seconds. The time of the recipe does not go down, but it should make 16 at once instead of 1, and that's huge. So I'll come back in 100 seconds and we'll see if this guy worked. I'm sure you guys have guessed, this recipe does require a clean room. And yes, you actually do have to build the multi-block in the clean room. Now, there is a hatch we could use to make it so we don't need the clean room, but it requires ultimate voltage components. We can't even make ultimate voltage circuits yet, but I mean, that is why we're trying to get into the blue circuits, right? Oh, let me show you guys the progression tab real quick. This will help it make more sense. So this is how far we've gotten in terms of progression, which is pretty impressive. You can see each column is a different tier of circuits. We crushed this tier, we did the blue tier, the green tier. Now we're going to move on to the blue tier of circuits. Then after that, there's only one tier left. That's pretty exciting. Also, check this out. Look at the coil progression that we've made. There's only one tier of coils left. Yes, we did need tritium coils for the Naquadah. That was pretty expensive. So I may get burned for saying this, but I think the end is somewhat in sight. Like, we're getting there, you know? We're about halfway done with the late game tab. All right, did this thing finish yet? It did. Oh, it only made one crystal chip though. Oh, you know what? I think it was just finishing a previous recipe. Let's wait one more cycle. All right, here we go, guys. Moment of truth. Please make 16. Please just work. It did it! It made 16! 16 plus 1 is 17. Let's go! We're getting raw crystal chips. Now, if you guys remember, you could take these chips, crush them down into 9 chip parts, and then we could feed the 9 chip parts back into this machine. So that way it's like an infinite loop. The only thing it's going to cost us is europium, which is being continuously made in the fusion reactor out there. So we should be fine. Now, if we set a storage bus onto this guy and hook up a cable, it should suck out those chips. Yep, see? They went bye-bye. That's because they're often to the HV line to get hammered back into chip parts. You can see the chip parts number is going up. So after we fill this entire input bus with raw crystal chip parts, we should start profiting the crystals themselves, or at least in theory. Now, we're not done yet. The next step is to take raw crystal chip parts, combine it with emerald plates and helium to get engraved crystal chip parts, which you then need to laser engrave, and only then will we have what we need to make our blue circuits. Oh, and for the circuit boards themselves, I've already automated that. Look at that. We have 2048 elite circuit boards. All you have to do is take the green ones, combine it with some platinum sulfuric acid, and then combine it with platinum iron 3 chloride. Boom, elite circuit boards. Oh, you gotta love circuits, right? Well, I say let's kick off a time lapse and get our first blue circuit. And we're back, and as you guys saw from the time-lapse, we got blue circuits now. Let's go. Let us walk into the ridiculously big clean room now, and I'll show you guys around. Over here, we have an LUV circuit assembler making IV crystal circuits. Single step. Look at that. We already have 256 of these guys. And these IV circuits replace these green ones over here. If you remember, these guys were made using our EV circuits, but now we can do it all in a single step using the blue circuits. And then using the IV ones, of course, we can go up the chain. Over here, we're making LUV circuits. Look at all these ludicrous voltage circuits. So many. And then in this circuit assembler over here, the LUV circuits are being combined to make ZPM circuits. Look at these guys, crystal supercomputers. And these are all being made passively, which is good. You can also see we're starting to buffer up on these crystal CPUs here that are being zapped with the laser engraver. Eventually, this processing array will fill all the buffers and this guy will turn off because this is a huge power draw. 122,000 EU per tick. But if we look at our quest book here, there is one final blue circuit we can make. And this is going to be our first ultimate voltage circuit. And this is going to require the assembly line. Oh yeah. So let's do this together real quick. Let's set ourselves a processing pattern. We should have all of these ingredients already automated, so it should be as simple as just setting the pattern and popping it in our assembly machine here. Let's throw in the pattern. This only requires LUV power to make, and our assembly machine is running at ZPM, so we should be fine. So let's request our first ultimate voltage circuit. It looks like we have everything. Start. Oh, there it goes. Only 20 seconds. Oh, baby. And it looks like it's done. Ultimate voltage circuit. Let's go! And I guess with these circuits, we can make the ZPM circuit assembling machine. Oh, we're already up to that. Now, one of the things I'm interested in with these UV tier circuits is the ultimate parallel control hatch, which will allow us to do 64 recipes at the same time. It does require different ZPM components, which I don't know if I've made recipes for yet, but we actually have a lot of the stuff. Let's set up a recipe for the ZPM circuit assembler and see if we can even make this guy. I mean, it would be cool if we could. Oh, apparently the only thing we're missing is a ZPM emitter recipe. Let's set that up real quick. Oh, we're gonna need trinium foil and Naquadah frame boxes. Give me a sec to set up more recipes. All right, after a little bit more automating, I think we have everything we need. We need Naquadah alloy frame boxes, europium, a whole bunch of different osmiridium parts, osmiridium rounds, Naquadah, trinium, HSSE, all kinds of expensive stuff. Only thing left to do is hit that start button. We get to use our new crystal components. That's what I was trying to say. Assembly line go burr. All right, that was a lot of assembly line waiting. Are we done now? We're done. There it is. The ZPM circuit assembler. Let's go. It's our very first ZPM machine. Oh, actually, it's our second. I did have to make a ZPM assembler strictly to make the trinium coils that were needed for this EBF right here. This EBF needs special coils to make Naquadah. But with the ZPM circuit assembler, we could do all kinds of cool stuff. For instance, I know we just set up this IV circuit processor here, but there's an even more efficient method using a ZPM circuit assembler that gives 4 processors per recipe. Wow. So I think we're going to be changing that out, which means we need to get a ZPM line in this place. Oh boy, we're already running out of room in here again. But looking at the quest book, there is only 1 tier of circuits left that we have to tackle. Then we're done with circuits forever. And that's going to be nice. But in order to get to the next tier of circuits, we're going to have to get into the cleaner clean room, the sterilizing clean room. But before we get into that, that is going to require a ton of power. Oh, there's a creeper in the tree. What the heck? Sometimes mobs spawn inside of the tree farm and it's dangerous. Oh, goodbye. Anyways, our base is currently being supplied with LUV crystal orbs. We need to upgrade to the ZPM ones. Although I couldn't help but notice, there's a ZPM battery that can hold 2 trillion units of power, aka 211 hours worth. Wow. It does require some ultimate crafting though. But we have all the stuff, right? Berkelium, Californium, ZPM circuits. We can make those easily now. ZPM field generators. Oh boy. This is going to require awakened draconium. There's the catch. I knew there had to be some kind of catch before we could make this thing. Instead, I think we're going to have to go for this ZPM energy module. This only needs LUV field generators, which require a bunch of stuff. Oh, fine. Indium, tin, barium, titanium, cuprate wires. Gosh, the names on some of these things. As I mentioned before, in order to progress, we're gonna have to upgrade our power grid. So I went ahead and automated the next tier above Enderium, which is Draconium. You just need Draconium wire. And I don't remember if I showed you guys this before, but the way you make Draconium is by combining Manulan Dust, which we automated a while ago, and Dragon's Breath. Yeah, very weird combo, but that's how you make Draconium, and then you have to smelt it in a Naquadah EBF with high-octane gasoline. Good thing we have that automated. And then cool it with gel and cryothium, which is the same thing we used to cool the reactor. So getting Draconium wasn't too hard. And these Draconium wires can transfer 4 times more power than Enderium. And you may be wondering, is there a tier after this? Yes. there is a Draconic Superconductor energy conduit, which is, I believe, the max tier conduit. Yes, it is. And this upgrade is like over 10x of the normal Draconium. So I kind of just want to jump straight to the maximum conduit. That way we don't have to worry about upgrading these conduits anymore, because it's getting annoying to having to keep replacing the conduits around the base. But in order to get that, we need the Draconic Superconductor wire. This is the max conductor wire in the game. It's actually not too bad to make. You just need draconium wire and nether star juice. That's the tricky one. We're gonna have to juice nether stars. All right, we got a little bit of a vacuum freezer here with IV power. It's getting powered from the back using some uranium tripalladium wires. I think these are my favorite wires. They just look sick. Now all we have to do is insert some draconium wire in the back. All right, draconium wire. Request it from the system. It is going into the freezer. Nice. Next up, we need to get the liquid nether star in there. So for that, I think we're gonna put a input hatch right here. Next, we need an EV extractor, which we have one laying around in the system. Let's go. We should be able to place it like right here. And then we have to give it some nether stars. Luckily, we automated nether stars a while back, so it shouldn't be too bad. Then use a conveyor, tell it to import, and it should be juicing stars. Look at it, it's juicing stars. And yep, it's running. Very good. And it should place it in the drawer. There we go. Our very first superconductor wire. Oh, there's an achievement for this. Let's go. Now, I believe technically you can use these wires in place of any of the wires. Like, we could replace all these with superconductor, all these. Any wire in the base could be replaced with this, but we're not going to do that because remember, it costs a full nether star for just one of these wires. Hopefully our nether star production system can keep up with this demand. How we doing over here, nether star maker? I mean, it's making nether stars. It's doing its job. The limiting component for nether stars is phosphorus. I'm gonna have to keep my eye on this phosphorus number. But with these superconductor wires, we should be able to make the final tier of conduit. Ah! I fell through the floor. Oh yeah, I need to fix up the holes of the floor. Where's Stircat when you need her? Let's add a robot arm here, put in the item filter, keep exact conduit binder. Can you tell I've done this a bunch of times? 2 of these, 1 of those, 1 of these, import, and yep, we're making it! Draconic superconductor energy conduits. You'll love to see it. We now have the most powerful conduits in the game! Ah, look at these guys, 134 million FE per tick. We shouldn't have to upgrade our power grid for a while after this one. We're just gonna have to wait on us to get enough superconductor wires. Guys, I may have lost some of my sanity points, but I've done it. I've upgraded every single wire, every single conduit around the base to these superconductor draconic ones. All across the base. Oh my goodness. This was probably like 12 stacks of wires or something. And I've just been flying around because I feel like I've definitely missed one somewhere, right? I mean, what are the odds that I did it right the first time? But I haven't found any missing conduits yet. And the good news is I'm never gonna have to replace these again. That's what helps me sleep at night. I also added 1 more plasma turbine, so we're up to 5 now. We're ready to start another column. We still have more helium plasma that we can burn through. Now that we have unlocked ZPM technology, I have upgraded our battery buffer to ZPM energy modules, like I mentioned earlier in the episode, and they're already all full. What the heck? We got 64 billion EU in storage right now. Man, I really want to upgrade to these batteries. How do we make Awakened Draconium? Is it like a super big process? Ah, I see. It's going to require Draconic Evolution fusion crafting. I haven't done this in a while. Oh boy. I mean, can we like make the crafting core? Are we close enough? Lapis, nether stars, tungsten carbide, draconium. Oh, what are these? What are those? We're going to need sapphire? I mean, I'm sure Awakened Draconium is on the quest book somewhere. Yeah, it's right here. We would basically just have to go down this path in the quest book. That's tempting. You know what? I'll let you guys decide what we do next episode. Just like a few episodes ago, I'll post a poll. Make sure you guys vote in the community section. Option 1, we make the cleaner clean room and then go down to the wetware path of this quest book and then go for the final tier of circuits. Or we could go down this path and go for the tier 6 micro miner. Or we can go down the Draconic Evolution path to get those super batteries. Or as a final option, we go for the rotary hearth furnace, which is like a super EBF. Look at the size of this multi-block. Like, What? But apparently it's like an electric blast furnace, but you can put on those parallel control hatches so they could do multiple items at once. Plus, it looks absolutely ridiculous. But I think we have a lot of these blocks automated. We would just have to make the high temperature smelting casings. So let me know in the comments which of those 4 options you want to see next episode. And with that, I'll catch you guys in the next one. CWG out.